violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. Boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. Boy, you better. Cause the profits hitting now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits hitting now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Some about to run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. Cause the profits hitting now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits hitting now. Making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. You better. Cause the profits hitting now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits hitting now. So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not, cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do? And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. Cause the profits hitting now. Profits here, yeah. You better man. Cause the profits hitting now. We the saviors of the time. Making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. Cause the profits hitting now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits hitting now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Some about to run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. Cause the profits hitting now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits hitting now. Making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits hizzle. Cause the profits hitting now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits hitting now. So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not, cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do? And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet says so. Boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet says so. Boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. Prophet's here, yeah. You better man. Cause the prophet's here now. We the saviors of the making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the prophet's here now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Somebody run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the prophet's here now. Making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the prophet's here now. So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not, cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do? And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. Prophet's here, yeah. You better man. Cause the prophet's here now. We the saviors of the making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the prophet's here now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Somebody run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause the prophet's here now. Making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better. Hey, bring that out. Cause profits hit now.
So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not, cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do? And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man.
You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now.
Profits here, yeah. You better man.
Cause the profits here now.
We the saviors of the town.
You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now. You better. Bring that out. Cause the profits here now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Some about to run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now. You better. Bring that out. Cause the profits here now. Making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now. You better. Bring that out. Cause the profits here now.
So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not, cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do? And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man.
You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now.
Profits here, yeah. You better man.
Cause the profits here now.
We the saviors of the town.
Making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers, switching riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now. You better. Bring that out. Cause the profits here now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Some about to run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs upon the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs upon the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better and bring that out. Cause the prophet's here now. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs upon the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs upon the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now. You better and bring that out. Cause the prophet's here now.
So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not, cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do? And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man.
You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs upon the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs upon the corners, but the prophet's here, so boy, you better. Cause the prophet's here now.
Prophet's here, yeah. You better man up.
Prophet's here now.
We the saviors of the
Shalom, 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 shalom. Live. Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. All praise to the Most High. So it's another edition today, Man Up Monday. So it's a continuation from last week. And today we're going to go into, like I said, heliocentric. Good. So today we're going to go into the solar system, the fourth day of the creation, the greater lights, as well as going into the fifth day. We're going to leave the sixth day for next week, all right? So let's start off with Genesis chapter 1. Verse 14.
The book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights.
So notice how verse 16 differentiates from verse, verse 3. Verse 3, read verse 3 real quick.
Verse 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light.
So this light was different from the light in verse 16. This light is two great light. As you're going to see, is going to the sun as well as the moon. Now, the light in verse 3 was a natural illuminate that God was able to illuminate through the elements. So this light in verse 16 is going to the sun and the moon. Read verse 16 again.
Verse 16, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day.
So the greater light to rule the day is talking about the sun. Read.
And the lesser light to rule the night.
And the lesser light is talking about the moon. Read.
He made the stars also.
Read.
And God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth.
And God set these two great lights in the firmament of heaven. Today, scientists call it space. That's why last week we went to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It says, who imposeth? How do they oppose God? Through their science, through their technology. They set themselves up as God and sit in a temple as God and worshiping him. Why? Because instead of taking what the Bible says for to be facts and to be doctrine, the scientists say, no. It's not based upon any scientific evidence. Nothing that we can prove. Because why the white man says, if we can't prove it, if we didn't see it, then it's not real. Anytime we actually have evidence, biblical evidence, prophetic evidence, we was able to prophesy, we're able to prove the Bible's true through the transatlantic slave trade. Deuteronomy 28 shows our conditions, shows us going to captivity, our oppressions, mass incarceration, black codes, Jim Crow, everything within our history, the Bible proves it. But for all of a sudden, we get to the beginning of how the earth was created. God is showing you how you create earth verbatim and step in order. But the white man says, no, It's not based upon scientific evidence. We got to conduct an experiment to prove whether or not this God that you're talking about is actually the things that he's documented is actually true. Now, let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 45.
2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 45. Upon the 4th day, thou commandest that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light.
So the 4th day that the sun should shine, which is the greater light, read, and the moon shall give her light, the lesser light. Go on.
And the stars should be in order, and gavest them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made.
So it says, and gave the sun and the moon a charge to do service to man. Get me that in Jeremiah 31, verse 35. So the sun and the moon was created on the 4th day, the two great lights outside of the light in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. Remember, that light was completely different from the sun and moon. So now it says to give service to man. Read Jeremiah 31, verse 35 now.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 35. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night.
So the sun was given to us for a light by day, and then the ordinance of the moon and of the stars for a light by night. That's why you have, it says it was given to the service for man, not given to the service for man to worship. So you have certain nations, just like in Christianity. Christianity is the base of the worship of the sun god, going back to ancient Babylonian custom of Nimrod being the unconquered sun. So in ancient, so you have these three deities, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. Nimrod represents the sun god, in which Christianity bases whole religion off of. And you have Semiramis is based upon the moon god. So these two great lights, the other nations took them to be gods in which they worship. Now today, we take religions such as Christianity. Can you pull the image up real quick with the image of Caesar, the beast, the prisoner, with the sun behind them. And I'm going to show you also Islam. So the lights, the sun was given to us to serve us for day, to give us light by day, and the moon to serve us to give us light by night. That's why the Arabs start worshiping them. They worship the moon god Hubal, because why? At nighttime when they traveled in the desert, because during the day it was too hot. So they travel at night. And they used the moon for a light, so they started worshiping the moon. And that's why you see the image of Caesar. Always with the sun behind him. That's why they worship on what? Sunday, in commemoration of the sun god, Nimrod, or we call Baal. Caesar, Christianity, Sunday, sun worship. Now let's get the crescent moon. Islam. So these lights was created for the service of man, not to worship them and create religions based upon them. Get me that now. And Sirach, give me Wisdom of Solomon chapter 13. Wisdom of Solomon 13.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13 and verse 1.
And that's why they worship the crescent moon and the star. Read.
Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of God.
Who are ignorant of God. Because he said he found out all the way of knowledge and it given to his servant Jacob. All the nations are ignorant of God. Nobody has a direct, close relationship with God. That's why they start to worship the sun, the moon, the stars. They create gods out of meteorites, out of stones, out of rocks, out of elephants. They worship all creatures but the one true creator. Because God never dealt with it. He says he showed his word unto Jacob. He have not dealt with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Go on.
And could not, out of the good things that are seen, know him that is.
Out of the good things that are seen, they cannot know the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the earth, the water, the trees, the oxygen that we breathe, the sand, the dirt. They can't know by the things that we see. We know that there's an intelligent life form, but they can't define it as an actual God. They can't define that this actual man that created all these things. A celestial power, the omnipotent power that created all these things, which we call God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They said, no. God didn't create these things. All these things just happened to come out of nothing. There's an expansion of the universe that came from atoms. Then you ask yourself, how did atoms come about? But with the dumb scientists, what they would do is if we question them how did atoms come about, they would question us and say, how did God come about? They will say, how do you come about? How are you born? How are you created? Same way you're going to be destroyed by the same God that created you, the same God that's going to destroy you. So read that.
Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the work master.
Neither by the works, the creation of the earth, the creation of the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything that we see. Neither can we acknowledge that God created all these things, that he's the workmaster behind this. Read.
But deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of stars.
Or the circle of stars, read.
Or the violent water.
Or the circle of stars going into, and that's why they take you have your horoscopes. You got your Pisces, your Cancers, your Sagittarius, your Gemini, all the 12 zodiac signs that they take and they worship them as gods. Go on.
Or the violent water. Or the lights of heaven to be the gods which govern the world.
Or the lights of heaven, which they take to be gods that govern the world. That's why they make a god of everything. They make her Aries. What are some gods? Mars, Venus. They make these the gods that govern the world rather than one true God that made them. Or they trying to bring up some type of scientific theory to explain life, and not for nothing, science is a god. Science is a religion. That's why you have something called Scientology. You have Tom Cruise as well as Will Smith was caught up in that religion because science is a religion. It's a faith-based religion. Science is based on faith. Why? Because it's not based on actual factual evidence. Observable evidence that's proven based upon scientific experiment. Nobody was back then to document and record the creation or expansion of the universe on atoms colliding with each other and creating some type of intelligent life form and then forming the earth, an organism on the earth, and going through the evolutionary process. No man was back then to record that or even carbon dating. They said that the earth is 1 million years old. But in order to say something is that old, you need evidence that was back during that time. There's somebody keeping records. They cannot dictate or they cannot document how old the earth truly is if nobody was recording back during that time. The Bible tells us how old the earth is. The Bible tells us how long it took God to create the earth. It said he created in what? 6 days, and the 7th day he rested. In God's time, it took him 6 days. In our time, it's 6,000 years to create it. On the 7,000th year, he rests. Go on.
Verse 3, with whose beauty, if they being delighted took them to be gods, let them know how much better the Lord of them is. For the first author of beauty hath created them.
For the first author of beauty had created the beautiful things that we see. That's why Eve was deceived. The first sin was idolatry. Eve, it says, one to be desired, one that's beautiful. What do you think Eve, what do you think they was worshiping that back then? The sun, the moon, the stars, the constellation, one that's able to make one wise. Why? Because there is, on the left side of things, there is wisdom in that. That's why you have a lot of black women, primarily, like I said, growing up. They'll always say, oh, what's your zodiac sign? You ever had, she'll say, what's your zodiac sign? You'd be like, I don't know. She'd be like, oh, based upon, you said, what year? I'm telling you, this is what, I didn't care. But women who come up to me, she's like, what's your zodiac sign? I said, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff. When were you born? Okay, I was born here. Oh, you're Cancer, you're Gemini, you're Sagittarius. We don't get along. He said, oh, that's why your characteristics like this. That's why you have these type of personality traits. I said, no, you created that and put that on me. But you have, when you go to, now, there is wisdom in astronomy and astrology. That's the left side of Satan. That's why you had Reagan. I think Reagan, he had an advisor, I believe, a female advisor that was an astrologist, an astronomer. That they used they had used astrologists, astronomers to read the signs of the time. That's why they find wisdom in these things. They base their wisdom, their witchcraft, their signs, their horoscopes. There is wisdom within that, but on the opposite side. That's on Satan's side. God says, don't be dismayed at the stars of heaven. But the heathen are dismayed, because why? God doesn't deal with them just like he deals with us. God deals with us through prophecy, through the prophets, the scriptures that he wrote. Satan deals with it. He didn't do astronomy. Get that real quick. Isaiah chapter 47. See if you can find that. Reagan's advisor. Got to pull that up. Read that.
Isaiah chapter 47, verse 13. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee.
So God says, you're weary in a multitude of their counsel. Why do you think they have NASA, Space Force, they had astronomers, astrologists. They have a whole government based upon the stars, the constellation. Why? Because that's how they get their wisdom. That's the opposite side of God. Satan deals with them through the worshiping of the planets, the constellation, the stars. He speaks to them that way. You got it?
Ronald Reagan actually used this San Francisco astrologist to make presidential decisions. Joan Quigley said she could have predicted when the president got shot.
You see? Just like we can predict certain events that's going to happen. You see the bishop, the deacons. We're able to go into the scriptures and predict the famine to come. We're able to go into the scriptures to predict our persecution, the war, our slave trade. But on the opposite side of Satan, they're able to use the astronomy, the astrologists going into witchcraft. That's the wizardry. That's the witchcraft. They use the stars to predict certain things. It gives them wisdom. That's why it says, one that give me that in Genesis 3. It's called sorcery. Now read on. I want to go down the article. See if there's anything else in it. Read that. Read it. Yep. Read on.
Ronald Reagan nearly got through his presidency without his secret advisor exposed. But Donald Reagan, Reagan's chief of staff until he was ousted amid the Iran-Contra scandal, spilled in his 1988 book, For the Record, what he viewed as the most closely guarded domestic secret.
Now go to the New York Post.
The New York Post ran a story with the headline, Astrologer Runs the White House.
Astrologer runs the what?
The White House.
Go on.
And the disclosure became fodder for jokes in Washington.
Now go back to Isaiah 47, verse 13.
Isaiah chapter 47, verse 13. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers.
It says, thou art weary in a multitude of thy counsels. Why? Because astrologers run the White House. They give them wisdom. They give them counsels on how to move based upon the constellations. That's why I say you're worried in a multitude of thy counsels and by thy sorceries. They use sorceries, witchcraft to predict things. That's how they communicate with Satan. The left side of things, we communicate through the scriptures. We're able to predict and prophesy based upon what God gave to the prophets, such as Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah. They're able to predict things and prophesy based upon what the stars, what they're able to read with the stars. That's why they get paid so much. That's why they have a complete faction, of separate part of the government just dealing with space, just dealing with NASA, SpaceX. They spend billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. Go on.
Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee.
So God says, let these stargazers, your astrologers, your counselors, save you for the destruction that's coming. Now, go to Genesis chapter 3.
Genesis chapter 3,
verse 6.
Verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food,
when Eve saw that the information that she was receiving from the serpent, that wicked, treacherous, cunning man, that deceitful man, that the information that he was teaching her was good to consume, was good to learn, read.
And that it was pleasant to the eyes.
It was pleasant. Think about it. Food, a tree being pleasant to the eyes. What's pleasant to the eyes? When you go outside at night, what do you do all the time? You stare up, stargazing. You look at the stars. You look at the Milky Way. You look at the planets. You say, wow, that's beautiful. Look at that, Daddy. Look at the stars. Look at the moon. It's pleasant. It's beautiful to the eyes. When you see the billions of stars up in the sky, it's pleasant. It's beautiful. Go on.
And a tree was, and a tree to be desired to make one wise.
And a tree to be desired, meaning this information that she was receiving, she was able to make one wise. Not wise in terms of the commandments, because of the commandments made us wise. But on the flip side, on the opposite side of God, the left side of God, Satan's side, they deal with sorcery. This sorcery is going to the astrologies, the astronomers, going to the witchcraft, the reading of the constellation, the worshiping of the planets. That's why all of your planets, they made gods. All your gods are based upon planetary worship. Give me that in 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 5. Time and time out, God's constantly going to the worshiping of planets, how we worship the planets, how we worship the sun, the moon, the stars. And all the gods that they worship is based upon the constellation. One to make wise. That's how they get their wisdom. How do you think they do their farming? The farmer's almanac is based upon what? It's based upon the moon. When do they plant? They know when to plant during the full moon. Or it's the dark moon. They plant because why? They say that's when the water, the tide, on the full moon is when the tide's at its highest. And they say you plant it during that time because that's when the water in the soil actually would germinate the seed a lot faster. Even when I went to a nursery, and a lady told me when to plant my grass seeds. She said to plant it on 2 weeks prior to the full moon. Plant it during the dark moon to give it time so 2 weeks afterwards, when the full moon sets, then it's going to germinate a lot quicker. So she always says, when you plant your grass, when you plant your seeds, always plant on a dark moon because 2 weeks later, it's going to speed up the process. Go on.
2 Kings chapter 23, verse 5. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and
unto Baal. Baal is Nimrod. They burn incense, the priests, the Levites burn incense unto Baal, Nimrod, unto the sun. Go on.
And to the moon.
And to the moon, Semiramis, the moon god. Or the Israelites or the Arabs today worship as Hubal, or the moon god. Go on.
And to the planets.
And to the what?
Planets.
That's why you have Mars, the god of war. You have Venus. You have Mercury. They worship the planets as gods. Go on.
And to all the hosts of heaven.
And to all the hosts of heaven. And to all the hosts of heaven. If I'm not mistaken, they go, actually, yeah, and to all the hosts of heaven. Give me Acts chapter 14. Show you that they worship the planets as gods. Acts chapter 14, verse 12.
Acts chapter 14, verse 12. And when they called Barnabas Jupiter and Paul.
They called Barnabas Jupiter because why? They worship them. It's a way. Barnabas is Jupiter. And Paul what?
And Paul Mercurius.
And Paul Mercurius. I think Jupiter is Zeus, right? Yeah, Jupiter is Zeus and Mercurius is Hermes, the messenger god. Because why? Paul was doing all the speaking. He was the messenger. So they said, okay, Barnabas has to be Zeus. We're going to call him Jupiter and Paul Mercurius. Go on.
Because he was the chief speaker.
Because he was the chief speaker, meaning he was the messenger god. So that even back during the time of Acts, remember, we was caught up in Greek philosophy. Even during the time of Rome, Greek philosophy and the worshiping of the planets carried over to the Roman captivity, and they just recycled the gods and just called them different gods. So they started worshiping Jupiter or Zeus and gave Barnabas that title, as well as Mercurius, the messenger god, Hermes, and gave that title to Paul. Showing all throughout the scriptures, the different nations worship the planets, and Israel adopted that customs within a nation. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19. That's why it says, one to make one wise. What was pleasant to the eyes, to make one wise. The worship of the constellation, the stars, the sun, the moon, it gives wisdom. It shows you when to plant. It shows you when to fish. High tides. The moon dictates the planet, the waves. Even the moon, the full moon, it said it has to, even with the full moon, I think it has to do with, like I said, a lot of crazy people. That's why they say werewolves come out. That's just mythology. But a lot of people, it affects people's mentality, psychology. They said crazy people come out during the full moon. So there's a vibration that comes from the moon that affects people, that affects the planet. Go on.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven.
So should it be driven to worship the sun, the moon, the stars, as well as the planet, as the nations do? God divided these things under the whole heaven for what? To give service unto man. But man, rather than using the sun, the moon, the stars to give sun light by day and light the moon to give light by night, and Issachar used the stars. It says the 12 constellations, Issachar used that to navigate. There's a book. See, Jazz, hit up Jazz. There's a book to show you that Issachar used the 12. Dang, I didn't think about it. These things are just coming up. These scriptures are not part of the class. So that's what is coming to my mind. Issachar was able to use the stars to navigate the constellations. So we didn't use it to worship it. We use it to navigate. That's how Issachar knew how to come to the side of the world. They called it the 12 something, the gates or something like that. Issachar was able to read the constellation to navigate to this side of the world. They knew how to read the stars, to make one wise. And that's why when we was escaping slavery, what did they always say? Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Da, na, 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 na. Right? Right? You gonna leave me hanging, brother? You know what I wanted to say. You ain't. So they always say, our ancestors used to say, follow the drinking gourd. Get that scene in Jingle too, which says, which one of you know how to read the stars? Because they knew we know how to read the stars. Or they say, follow what? The North Star. I remember they'll say, or look at the Big Dipper or the Small Dipper. So our ancestors knew how to read the stars for navigation. All right? Now, let's go back. What I want? We'll go back to that. Let's go to Jeremiah 31. Yep.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 35. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day.
So the sun was given for light by day. The sun wasn't given for us to worship them. Read.
And the ordinance of the moon and of the stars for a light by night.
And the ordinance of the moon and the star was only given to us for the light by night, to guide us in the dark. Go on.
Which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me.
If the sun, the moon, and the stars depart before God, read.
Saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever.
So if the sun, the moon, and the stars, remember it says the sun, the moon, and the stars was created for the service of man. What man? The service of the Israelite man. The sun was created to give us light by day. The moon was created to give us light by night. Also, there's nothing you can do without the sun. The sun also shines at the certain seasons, that's like you have the springtime we're going to go into. In terms of the harvest season, we're able to plant. Why? Because certain season the sun shines more time. It's longer during the day, so that it gives us it germinates our plants, so that we can produce crop and food for the year, for the season, for the springtime, for the summertime, as well as the fall time, the harvest time. So read on.
Thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Lord.
Showing that what? The Israelites are still here. If you can see the sun, if you can see the moon, if you can see the stars, that means the seed of Israel is still here. Because people say that God's not dealing with the Israelite anymore. They're lost. God cast away his people. But if you can see the sun, the moon, and the stars, he said, then I will also, cease, the Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. Then, verse 37, he says, thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, heaven and space can't be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done. So that's why they're trying to do space missions to measure the heavens, the space. And that's why they're trying to go into the deep sea, but they can't go to the depths of the ocean. The equipment that they have, the submarines, the equipment that they have can't even go that far because of the built-up pressure. There's a certain level that they go that if they go any lower, it will break and crush the submarines and crush some of the equipment. Crush the what? Crush death. Yes, crush death. And it's certain, and you can't even go. They can't even go to the. Think about it. They can't even go. They're trying to go to Mars, but what about the other planets? So they're trying to measure the heavens as well as measure or go to the depths of the ocean. And God said, if you could do that, then I will cease. Then I will cast off Israel, that they should be a nation unto him. But they can't measure these things. God made it so that they can't. So God will never cast away his people and do away with them, showing that we're still here. And that these ordinances was given to us to serve us. That's why the white people, if you look at white people, when you look at them on a beach, what do you see? The skin starts to peel. They use pounds of tanning lotion, sunscreen. They go to the tanning salon because why? The skin is not in an agreement with the sun. The sun actually affects them. The sun actually causes cancer within them. But black people, the sun actually complements us. It complements our skin, our melanated skin texture. It complements us and gives us vitamin D. That's why they try to lock us down and keep us inside, because they understand that, yo, there's nothing we could do to kill these niggas. Damn, we try to poison the water. They still producing babies. Damn, they're not. All right, let's poison the water. Let's poison the food. Let's lock them up. Let's put abortion clinics out there. All right, none of this is working. No matter what we do, what we put in place, you know what? Let's give them condoms. Let's give them diseases. Let's give them AIDS. Everything we do doesn't work. They keep on multiplying. They don't die, but they multiply. We incarcerated them. We locked majority of the black race up. We locked the black men as well as the Latino men. We destroyed the Native American Indian man. We killed the Indian. We killed Gad. We killed his mindset. And they still produce it. What is it about these people that they just keep on having sex and produce a baby? Because, you know, Israel's lively. Israel gets it in. Israel, you know, lets off once, and then the woman pregnant. Esau got to go to the doctor. They got to freeze their sperm. They got to do all types of things to produce children. Showing, and they complain, damn, how do you guys got 13, 15? You don't see Edomites having, or Caucasians having 12, 13, 17 children. And when they do, they produce shows based upon it. They say they glorify it, but when it comes to us, they say, oh, what are you going to, you're going to take up all the government assistance? You're going to take up all the welfare? But showing you that no matter what they do, they can't kill us off. So they say, you know what? Damn, the virus ain't even killing them off. Let's keep them inside. Let's lock down everybody so that they can't get the sunlight they need to heal them from the disease. Because the sun heals, think about it, always heat kills diseases. We need, or they give us supplement, vitamin D pills. Why do we need vitamin D pills when the sun is a vitamin D? That's why they keep us inside working all day. Because the sun strengthens us. The sun is in agreement with us. The sun gives us strength. It gives us the vitamins we need. God created the sun for us. They're trying to block the sun from us. That's why Bill Gates wants to block out the sun, the UV rays, because he want to kill us off. Not everything they're doing is not working. God created the ordinance for us. All right? You found the book? No. I think Deacon has it. But he's on. All right, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, we'll go on. Now go to Jeremiah 33, verse 20.
Jeremiah chapter 33 and verse 20. Thus saith the Lord, if ye can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night.
If you could break God's covenant of the sun giving light to us by day, and if you could break God's covenant for the moon giving us light by night, read.
And that there should not be day and night in their season.
Read.
Then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, so that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne. and with the Levites, the priests, my ministers.
Read.
As the host of heaven cannot be numbered,
As you cannot number the host of heaven, read.
neither the sand of the sea measured, so will I multiply the seed of David my servant.
Neither can you measure the sand of the sea so that he will what?
So I will multiply the seed of David my servant.
So he will multiply the seed of David his servant. You got it? All right, go ahead. Keep reading. Let me see. That's the book of what?
And the Levites that minister unto me. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, saying, Considerest thou not what this people have spoken, saying,
Yes. One second. Keep going.
The two families which the Lord hath chosen, he hath even cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them. Thus saith the Lord, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of the heaven and earth, then will I cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them.
Showing you. So verse 24. Sorry, I got caught up. Verse 24 again.
Considerest thou not what this people have spoken, saying, the two families which the Lord hath chosen.
The two families, southern kingdom as well as northern kingdom, which God chose. Read.
He hath even cast them off.
He had to go, the other nations saying, the two families that God chosen, he have even cast them off. The other nations think that God just done away with us. That's why they adopted themselves into the fold. They imposed themselves into us. That's why they call themselves, oh, now, God cast them off. God's not dealing with them. So we're going to take on their nationality. We're going to call ourselves Jews. We're going to call ourselves the Israelites. We're going to call ourselves Christians because God's not dealing with them. God cast both families, Judah as well as Israel. Judah and Ephraim. Go on.
Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them.
Thus, the other nations, every single nation had their hand in our slave trade. They despise us that we shall be no longer a nation before God. That's why they cut us off. That's why they changed our names. They enslave us. They raped us. They incarcerate us. They changed our identity, they gave us their last name, their first names. They erased our history. They don't allow us to go to they taking out our history out of the history books. They taking out slavery out of the school system. They taking critical race theory as well as the 1619 Project out of the schools. Even if we talk anything that's going to make a Caucasian, a white boy, uncomfortable, they say it's going to be a law against that. It's going to be a federal crime. And that's why they removed the statues. They said, read that last part again.
Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them.
Read on.
Thus saith the Lord, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth, then will I cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them.
And I will cause their captivity to return, and God's going to have mercy. That's all right. I don't need that. I'm trying to think. All right. Go to, one second. Get me. All right, let's go back to Genesis 1:14 now.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. So the sun and the moon were given for signs and days and seasons as well as years. So let's get the article real quick. Yep. Let's deal with seasons.
Season. A season is a period of the year that is distinguished by special climate conditions. Seasons are largely due to factors surrounding the Earth's tilted axis as it revolves around the sun.
Wait, the Earth's tilted axis as it revolves around what?
Around the sun.
So now, so the white man, the devil, says the Earth, the season, is a direct result of the Earth's tilted axis as it revolves around the sun. That's called heliocentric. The Earth's going around the sun's axis. Or they say that the Earth, the sun, is a center of the universe, and everything revolves around the sun, the planet as well as the stars within the solar system. Now, we're going to stop there, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth into that. We're going to deal with that. We're going to deal with that in a second. Keep going.
Summer and southern. You want me to read that?
Keep going. We're going to deal with that later.
Summer in northern hemisphere, winter in southern hemisphere. Seasons. Winter in northern hemisphere, summer in southern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm. Go on. Now go down.
A season is a period of the year that is distinguished by special climate conditions. The 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter, follow one another regularly. Each has its own light, temperature, and weather patterns that repeat yearly.
Go on.
In the northern hemisphere, winter generally begins on December 21st or 22nd. Mm-hmm. This is the winter solstice, the day of the year with the shortest period of daylight. Summer begins on June 20th or 21st, the summer solstice, which has the most daylight of any day in the year.
So notice that it says winter solstice, solstice meaning based upon the sun. So there's a rotation, they say the earth is tilted. And the reason why we have 4 seasons, because the earth is tilted, and certain parts of the earth receives a specific amount of sunlight based upon its axis around the sun. But that's not true. The earth orbits within its own axis as the sun rotates around the earth. And that's why we have seasons. Actually, everything's backwards. So rather than the earth revolving around the sun, yes, the earth is orbiting within its own axis, and that's why we have different seasons throughout the year, as the sun makes its orbit around it, or the earth tilts, because they said the earth is rotating, constantly rotating. Now go on.
The seasons in the northern hemisphere are the opposite of those in the southern hemisphere. This means that in Argentina and Australia, winter begins in June. Mm-hmm. The winter solstice in the southern hemisphere is June 20th or 21st, while the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, is December 21st or 22nd.
So that's all 4 seasons, right? All right, go to order.
Mm-hmm. Go back up. Spring and fall or autumn begin on equinoxes, days that have equal amounts of daylight and darkness. The vernal or spring equinox falls on March 20th or 21st, and the autumnal equinox is on September 22nd or 23rd.
Now let's go to Genesis chapter 8, verse 22. So the winter solstice, the summer solstice, summer solstice, then you have the spring equinox, as well as the fall equinox. All is based upon the rotation, the earth rotating within its own axis, as well as the sun orbiting around the earth. Go on, read that.
Genesis chapter 8, verse 22. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
Read that again.
While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat.
So while the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest. What is seed time? Springtime. That's when you start planting your seeds. Seed time and harvest. What is harvest time? What's harvest time? Fall. Good.
And cold and heat.
What's the cold, brother? Winter. And what is the heat? Summer. How many seasons are those? 4. So showing the 4 seasons. Go on.
And summer and winter and day and night shall not cease.
So summer and winter, day and night. So it should not cease. Now give me the picture. Give me the picture. No, not that one. Of the sun orbiting the earth's axis. Yep. Now, so do you have the old picture? Can you pull up the old picture too? To show you, we have to change everything around. Give me that. You're turning things upside down. Shall be esteemed as potter's clay.
Isaiah chapter 29, verse 16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay.
So the Bible says, surely your turning of things upside down. What did they turn upside down? Can you give me that now? The picture of the earth orbiting the sun's axis. Go on.
Surely the turning of things your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay.
So Esau, the white man, when he came in power during the Renaissance, everything that was did, everything that we knew, the information, the knowledge that we knew of, they turned everything upside down. They flipped it based upon the scientific theories, the hypothesis, and they came up to the conclusion that this is it. That's why it says, who opposes him? You got that picture? I want to show you what they turned upside down. So originally, this is called geocentric. When the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything within the solar system orbited the Earth's axis. No, I want the sun, the Earth orbiting the sun's axis. Oh my God. Thank you, please. So read that again. You need to read.
Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not?
Can you help them out? Go on.
Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? Mm-hmm. Is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field?
So showing you that their turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as a potter's clay. What did they turn upside down? Rather than the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets orbiting the Earth's axis, you have something called heliocentric that was created during the Renaissance period, a scientific theory that became scientific evident facts today. Now, everything, the center of the universe being the sun. Does that make sense? That where the human being life force is on the earth, but everything evolves around the sun, one star, but there's no life form. So it says, your turn of things shall be esteemed. Oh, I forgot a book. Now, go back. You got the picture? Bring it up. Bring up the book. Bring it up. So this is, you got it? All right. So your turning of things upside down should be esteemed as the potter's clay. So you notice how the earth is orbiting the sun's, or the earth is actually, because, let me get it real quick. So it says the Earth's orbit around the sun takes about, they said, around approximately 365 days out of the year, which gives us our 4 seasons. So they say that scientists will say that the Earth tilts, I think it's like at a 26.5 or 4 degree axis. And as it rotates around the sun and the tilting of the Earth, it creates the different seasons. You have the vernal equinox, which is March 21st, which we base our Passover off of. Around that time period, you have the winter equinox. You have the autumn equinox. You have the summer solstice. So you have the 4 seasons based upon, scientists say, based upon the orbiting of the earth around the sun within a full cycle of the year, which gives us a 4th season. Now. Let's see. Do I want to go to the scriptures right now on that? I want to get more proof, evidence. Now get the other picture. So now this one says, your turn of things upside down shall be esteemed as a potter's clay. Now, this is what God says. Now, is that scriptural? We're going to go forth. We're going to go based upon this diagram of the sun orbiting the Earth's axis in a matter of 365 or I think they said it's about 360 days out of the year, or 365. I'm not exactly sure. But the sun, the moon, the stars actually orbit the Earth's axis. Get me now. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 4.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 4. One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever.
But the earth abideth forever. Read.
The sun also ariseth.
The sun also ariseth. That's why you have nighttime. When the sun goes down, sunrise, sunset. So the sun rises to give us light by day. Go on.
And the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he rose.
And his sun hasteth in his place where he rose. Wait a minute. It says the sun what?
The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down.
It goes down, read.
And hasteth.
So we already got the rising, right? And going down. Because why does the sun rise and go down? Because think about it. I said that the sun, it orbits around the Earth's axis. So the sun is doing this. So, but the Earth is tilting. So the Earth is orbiting within its own. The Earth is constantly rotating within its own axis as the sun is going around within 360 to 365 days out of the year. So go on.
And hasteth to his place.
And his sun hasteth to its place. Meaning the sun is orbiting, it's hastening to its place. Go on. So meaning it's running to its place, read.
Where he rose.
Where he rose. Now get me 1 Ezra chapter 4, verse 34. Okay.
1 Ezra chapter 4, verse 34. O ye men, are not women strong? Great is the earth, high is the heaven. Swift is the sun in his course.
That's why it says he hasteth in his place. Swift is the sun in his course, around its orbit. Go on.
For he compasseth the heavens round about.
Wait, the sun does what?
Compasseth the heavens round about.
The sun compasseth the heavens, the space round about. Round about what? Round about the earth. Go on.
And fetcheth his course again to his own place in one day.
In what?
In one day.
And it fetcheth his course again in his place in one day. In one day. Get me that. Sirach chapter 43. Verse 1.
Sirach chapter 43, verse 1. And actually pull the picture again. The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven, with his glorious show, the sun when it appeareth, declaring at his rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High.
Go on.
At noon it parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors, and sending forth bright beams, it dimmeth the eyes. Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment it runneth hastily.
At his commandment does what?
It runneth hastily.
At God's commandment, the sun runneth hastily, runneth in its course, and it goes about it in a day's period of time. That's all you have. How many hours in a day? 24 hours in a day. Now, pull up the video. Saudi cleric says the sun rotates around the earth. All right, play that.
Well, we've had some odd pronouncements coming out of Saudi Arabia recently. Fatwas against snowmen springs to mind. The fact that Western women don't care if they get raped simply because they're driving is another classic Saudi pronouncement. But this latest one from a Saudi cleric seems to almost pose more questions, or pose as many questions as it seems to answer. And here's why. He has said in a recent video that the Earth doesn't move. The Earth is stationary, and rather than the Earth revolving around the sun revolves around the Earth. Let's take a look at the video and then talk about how he is really seeking to unwind 500 years of scientific thinking.
أولاً نحن الآن في أين؟
How many years did he say? 500 years of what? Scientific data. How long is 500 years ago? 14? What is it? 1450s or so? The 1400s. The Renaissance period, when Isa rose back up in power. 500 years of scientific data. That's why they call it the Enlightenment period. Go on.
نذهب إلى مطار الشارقة. نريد أن نذهب إلى الصين بالطيارة.
Wait, go back.
واضح؟
A little bit. When he starts talking. Play.
أولاً
Read.
نحن الآن في أين؟
Where are we now?
نذهب إلى مطار الشارقة.
We go to
نريد أن نذهب
Sharjah
إلى الصين.
Airport to travel to
طيارة.
China. By plane.
واضح؟
Clear?
ركزوا معي.
I focus with me.
هذه الأرض. إذا قلتم
This
أنها
is
تدور.
Earth. If you
إذا
say that
خرجنا
it
من مطار
rotates,
الشارقة
if we leave Sharjah
برحلة
Airport on
دولية إلى
international
الصين.
flight to China,
الأرض تدور صح؟
the Earth
طيب
is
لو وقفت
rotating,
الطائرة
right?
في السماء
So if the plane
أليست
stops
الصين
still in
تأتي؟
the air, wouldn't China be coming
ولا لا؟
towards it? True or
تدور
not?
تأتي الصين ولا ما تأتي؟ طيب لو كانت الشمس
If the
الأرض
Earth
تدور
rotates
هكذا
on the other direction,
لو تمشي الطيارة ما أدري كم
the
تمشي
plane
لن
would not be
تستطيع أن
able to
تلحق
reach
الصين لأن
China.
الصين تدور وأنت تدور ولن تستطيع أن تصل إلى الصين لأنك
because
تدور
China
وهي
is
تدور.
also
فكيف
rotating as
تصل
the
إلى
plane
الصين؟
rotates.
So this cleric is called Sheikh Al-Kabari. He also, Mark, just before you say anything, he also rejected NASA's lunar excursions as Hollywood puff. Okay. So, I mean, you're with him on that one, right?
No, not me, but this, not unlike a lot of
Skeptics,
Americans and Christian fundamentalists. So I'm just saying that he's not alone in the world.
So, he's, one from one. How do you feel about this second one, about
So
Earth being stationary? And
he's a pre-Copernicus. He's in a pre-Copernicus state of mind here.
Correct.
But he's using airplanes to prove his theory.
Yeah.
See, if airplanes couldn't, if the
they
world
stopped moving,
the world was rotating.
It would catch up with it. Somehow we'd catch up with ourselves.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
Yeah, except it doesn't when you throw in that awful, awkward thing called science. Here's what the naked scientist from Cambridge University has to say on the matter. They say the atmosphere is moving with the surface of the Earth below it because there's friction. Remember friction? You continue to move with the surface of the Earth, so there's no difference flying with the rotation of the Earth or against
But
it.
you notice
Now,
how the scientist always comes in to explain the reason why their theory is correct. But the article we read last week was saying that these scientists would come up with big words or big scientific articles to deceive the people. People don't even know because it sounds deep, because you have a group of scientists or educators come together, then it must be scientific fact. When in actuality, none of it is actually scientific fact. It's not based upon any observable evidence. It's just based upon hypothesis, scientific theory, opinionated philosophy. That's all it is. Now, let's get the next one. Proof the sun rotates around the earth. Got it? Come on. Right there. Start from the beginning. What do you see? That's the sun. What is the sun doing? It hasteth. What is the sun doing? Read that again in Second Ezra chapter 1, First Ezra chapter 1, verse 4, verse 34. Play it again. No, keep playing it, actually. Keep it. Yeah, play it. Read that again.
First Ezra chapter 4, verse 34. O ye men, are not women strong? Great is the earth, high is the heaven. Swift is the sun in his course.
Swift is the what?
Sun in his course.
What is the sun doing? Swiftly going in its course. You see it? 12 hours a night, 12 hours a day. Swift is the sun in its course. Go on.
For he compasseth the heavens round about.
He compasseth. What is the sun doing, as you see in this video? It's compassing the heavens round about. It's orbiting the earth's axis. Go on.
And fetcheth his course again to his own place in one day.
And it fetches his course again in one day. Go on. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Now, get me heliocentric article of Copernicus. So to show you where this scientific theory came from. Nicholas Copernicus.
Nicholas Copernicus and the heliocentric model.
Mm-hmm.
On February 19, 1473.
That's why he says you're just going to just throw out 500 years of scientific theory. Because why? Because Nicholas Copernicus is the one that came up with the heliocentric model of the sun rotating, or the earth rotating around the sun's axis. Go on. Or orbiting around the sun's axis. Go on.
Renaissance mathematician and astronomer Nicholas Copernicus was born, who established the heliocentric model, which placed the sun, rather than the earth, at the center of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
With the publication of his research, he started the so-called Copernican revolution.
Mm-hmm. The so-called Copernican revolution. Go on.
Which started a paradigm shift away from the former Ptolemaic model of the heavens, which postulated the earth at the center of the universe, towards the heliocentric model with the sun at the center of our solar system.
Now, click on when it says Ptolemaic model. Ptolemaic model. Go to Ptolemaic model. All right, should be at the top. Click it again. Right there. At the top. Move the screen. Move our image from the screen. Yep. Read that.
Geocentric model. In astronomy, the geocentric model, also known as geocentrism or the Ptolemaic system, is a description of the cosmos where Earth is at the orbital center of all celestial bodies.
Read that again.
In astronomy, the geocentric model, also known as geocentrism or the Ptolemaic system, is a description of the cosmos where Earth is at the orbital center of all celestial bodies.
The Earth is at the orbital center of all celestial bodies. The Earth is the center of the universe. Go on.
This model served as the predominant cosmological system in many ancient civilizations, such as ancient Greece, including the noteworthy systems of Aristotle. See Aristotle in physics, and Ptolemy. As such, they assumed that the sun, moon, stars, and naked-eye planets circled Earth.
The sun, the moon, the stars, and the planets circle the Earth. Go on.
Two commonly made observations supported the idea that Earth was the center of the universe. The first observation was that the stars, the sun, and planets appeared to revolve around Earth each day, making Earth the center of that system.
Mm-hmm.
Further, every star was on a stellar or celestial sphere, of which the Earth was the center that rotated each day, using a line through the North and South Pole as an axis. The stars closest to the equator appeared to rise and fall the greatest distance, but each star circled back to its rising point each day.
That's all I wanted. So the solar system, so you have the sun, the moon, and the stars rotate and circle the orbit the Earth in a day. It orbits the Earth's atmosphere or axis within that day period, that time period. Now, can you get me the book?
Orthodox geography. Just want the highlighted part, sir.
Yep, right there. Just the highlighted part. Yep.
There was an Orthodox geography. There was an Orthodox geography at that period founded upon statements in the Jewish writings and by the fathers of the church. The earth was in the center of the universe, the sun and the moon and the stars humbly revolving around it. Mm-hmm. Jerusalem was in the precise center. Jerusalem was in the precise center of the earth.
So Jerusalem is the center of the earth. The earth is the center of the universe. Everything orbits around this earth. And Jerusalem is the center of the earth. The sun, the moon, the stars, the solar system, everything rotates and orbits around the earth. Now, let's go back to the heliocentric model. Scroll down. That's the geocentric. I want the heliocentric, I mean. Go down. I'm not going to get too deep into the science. Like I said, I'm not a scientist, so I can't really explain in depth, the orbiting and the tilting. I don't know. Only thing I know is what they taught us, and it's very little. But the Bible says differently, so we're going to stick to what the Bible says. The Bible says the earth is the center of the universe. The Bible says Jerusalem is the mother of all. Jerusalem is the center of the universe. Everything rotates around the earth. Now, in 1543.
In 1543, Nicholas Copernicus published his treatise De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres, which presented a heliocentric model view of the universe. Overall, it took about 200 years for a heliocentric model to replace the Ptolemaic model. But Copernicus was not the first to propose a heliocentric model. Actually, even the ancient Greek philosophers argued about.
You know about scientists and philosophers are one of the same, how they put them all in the same category? Because a philosopher's job is to theorize or argue life's existence. Argue what is life, what is time, what is this. It's just like in Acts when it had the Epicureans. They argue life. They look for the new topic at hand. It's philosophy. It's based upon man's opinion or theory. It's not based upon any evidence or facts. Now, I'm not saying all science is not true. The science that disproves the Bible is false. That's what we're going to base it upon. That's nothing that doesn't have any observable evidence. That experiment wasn't conducted, and that you can't show us how you conducted the experiments, how these things came about. Only thing you could theorize it, and you model it based upon your theory, not model based upon what you're seeing or observing. Go, read.
Actually, even the ancient Greek philosophers argued about, as an example, Aristarchus of Samos in the 3rd century BCE, who had developed some theories of Heraclides, Ponticus speaking of a revolution by Earth on its axis to propose what was, so far as is known, the first serious model of a heliocentric solar system.
Now read that part right there.
Finally, we shall place the sun himself at the center of the universe.
Finally, we shall place the sun itself at the center of the universe. Why do they place the sun? Because they worship the sun god. That's why they place the sun at the center of the universe. The sun god, Ra, Nimrod. Christianity is based upon sun worship. So they place the sun at the center of the universe because that's the God that they worship. That's the God that governs their religion, that governs their faith. Go on.
All this is suggested by the systematic procession of events and the harmony of the whole universe. If only we face the facts, as they say, with both eyes open.
Now, where's the scientific evidence? Where's it? Where's the astrologers? Where's the telescopes to see this? And that's how you know Esau's alive, because they're out there in space. They see the rotation of the sun. They see these things. They have the satellites. You think they don't know? You think they can't show us evidence? Now they got the actual scientific. They can actually go up there in space, the heavens. They can't document, record these things. Show us evidence. Show us proof that the earth is rotating around the sun. No, we didn't show you proof on it from a satellite that they won't televise, showing that the sun hastening within its path, orbiting around the earth in a 24-hour cycle, hastening in its way. Everybody knows that's what the only reason why Islam's speaking on these things is because why? Islam is based upon the Bible. Islam based their religions and their wisdom off of the Bible. That's the only reason why Islam's the only other religion that speaks on these things. Now, let's go to Sirach chapter 43, verse 6. Now go back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons.
So we dealt with the seasons, the 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, winter. Go on.
And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
And for signs. Let's deal with the signs. Let's go to Sirach chapter 43, verse 6.
Sirach chapter 43, verse 6.
And I want you to find me. I forgot to put it in my notes. But showing, I think it was Russia or China, showing an image. There's a video in YouTube showing the chariots, a fleet of chariots over the moon. In China, showing a military base or base on the moon. Go on.
He made the moon also to serve in her season.
He made the moon also to serve in her seasons. Now, not that the moon dictates the seasons. There's certain high holy days, feast days that fall within certain seasons. Go on.
For a declaration of times and a sign of the world.
So the moon is a declaration of times, meaning months. Remember, the moon is called after month. We're going to get into that. Go on.
From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
From the moon is a sign of feasts, feast days. That's how they say, how do you keep the Passover? How do you keep Day of Atonement, Tabernacle, Pentecost? The moon is a sign of feast. I like that. What?
A light that decreaseth in her perfection.
Can you give me the different stages of the moon? A light. The moon was two. That's why it says great light. 2 great lights. 2 lights. 1 greater light to rule the day and 1 lesser light to rule the night. So the moon, what? Read that again.
From the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
A light that decrease. To decrease means to diminish. When the moon was created, when it was first formed, it was first fashioned, guess what? It was created new. The new moon, it was created as a light, meaning it was created in its fullness. A full moon is the new moon. A light that what?
A light that decreaseth.
A light that decreaseth, diminishes, go on.
In her perfection.
In her perfection. To decrease in something that's perfect, meaning it was perfectly lighted. It was perfect in its perfection, meaning it was a full circle. And then as it begins to go through the different cycles and phases, you have the waxing gibbous. Then you have the first quarter. Then you have the waxing crescent. Then you have the new, that's not new moon, the dark moon, which is 2 weeks after the full moon. Then you have the waning crescent, the third quarter, the waning gibbous. Then back to the full moon, a month cycle. Read that part again.
From the moon is a sign of feast.
So based upon the full moon, every month we know to keep the moon. It's a sign of feast. That's why you have the feast day every single month. Go on.
A light that decreases.
A light that decreases goes to the different lunar stages. Go on.
In her perfection.
In her perfection. It decreases from a full moon, a perfect circle, to the different stages, the waxing stages, the waxing as well as the waning stages. Go on.
The month is called after her name.
The month is called after her name. Go on.
Increasing wonderfully.
Then after it decreases in her perfection, it begins to what?
Increase.
It begins to increase as it goes through its waxing stages. Its first quarter, it's waxing crescent. Then it goes through the dark moon stages. Then after the dark moon stages, when it's completely dark, it does what again?
Increasing.
It starts to increase what?
Wonderfully in her changing.
In her changes, it increases wonderfully in her changes, making a full cycle, one cycle of a month. Go on.
Being an instrument of the armies above.
You found a video? Pull it up. Being an instrument of the armies above. So the moon also is the instrument of the armies above. What armies above? What is it talking about? It's talking about the angels. The moon is the instrument of the angels above. Hope it's the right video. And there's another video too.
Aliens were reported
What are
to
chariots?
The public. Aliens were reported to the public.
You got that video too?
The report stipulates.
Can you turn it up?
I was sent some pictures by a source who claims China will be releasing high residential images taken by the Chang'e 2 moon orbiter, which clearly show buildings and structures on the moon's surface. He also claims NASA has deliberately bombed important areas of the moon in an effort to destroy ancient artifacts and facilities. Pictures yet to be released clearly show nuclear impact craters and building debris caused by explosions in an effort by NASA to destroy the truth. China is moving toward full disclosure of the extraterrestrial reality. If these images and future ones are verified genuine, then NASA should be investigated for fraud and treason. China will be releasing all the data and images from the Chang'e 2 in the coming weeks and months. Let's hope this is the beginning of a new era.
Try the first one. It says, the proof is out there. Mysterious UFO spotted on the moon. So read that again, the last part, while I'm finding it.
The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above.
Being an instrument of the armies of the angels above. Go on.
Shining in the firmament of heaven.
Shining in the firmament. Okay, I got it. Shining in the firmament of heaven. I'm going to send you a video real quick. Pull that up. It's showing that the moon has a military basis. The angels reside there. That's why they call it the dark side of the moon. There's a crater. That's where the angels reside. There's many books. I said Deacon Isaac brought it up in his IFO classes. If you want to go further into the topic, you can go into that. I'm not going to go as in depth. I'm just touching it, just barely scratching the surface. All right, pull it up.
Just about every culture has stories of people or creatures living on the moon. Now, an eye-opening video seems to raise the idea that the legends could be right, and that we humans may not have been the first or even the most recent visitors to our nearest neighbor. Moscow, Russia, May 2019. A photographer sets up to shoot a full moon over the city. He's struggling to get focus when this leaves him more than a little moonstruck.
Это что за херня? Это что за херня? Это что за нахер такой? Это...
First, 3 black circles cross in front of the moon. And almost as soon as they pass, even more come into frame.
You see all those chariots? Look at that.
We stabilize the frame and zoom in. There's no question, a cluster of objects is flying in a loose formation. Could these circular objects be asteroids or a fleet of alien craft? If they are, astrophotographer Andrew McCarthy calculates their size based on the moon's diameter and an estimated orbit 60 miles above the surface.
If these objects were orbiting the moon, they would have to be 2 to 3 miles wide.
Jesus. One of the chariots is 2 to 3 miles long. You know how big 2 to 3 miles long is? I'm talking about from the school all the way to the highway, to Route 80 or the Garden State. That's how big one chariot is. That's just an estimation. They don't actually know how vast it really is, but it says 2 to 3 miles long, one chariot. But there's a fleet of chariots. But Esau wanted to create a SpaceX program or Stargate or what is it? Space Force program to go against the angels? All right. Go on. And look what the devil says about
almost
that.
40 times the size of the largest craft in Earth's orbit, the International Space Station.
So who or what is capable of building so many superstructures and putting them into lunar orbit?
God.
So, are we looking at something huge orbiting the moon, like a fleet of UFOs or a cluster of asteroids? Or are we taking the wrong perspective?
Look what the devil
Is it
says.
something smaller and closer to Earth? We ask our experts to shed light on the mystery.
Oh, because the expert spoke, it means it's facts.
First,
White man is
astronomer
God.
and video effects designer Mark D'Antonio
This is
analyzes the video and confirms
This is the exact example of the white man being God and people worshiping him. Go on.
it's real, not photographic trickery.
I know this camera very well. You can zoom in very close to the moon. As you can see, this is an actual image from his camera.
So, could they be oversized satellites we Earthlings put into lunar orbit?
There are a lot of spacecrafts orbiting the moon, but they're not in the same orbits and they're not in the same areas.
Another important fact. Hundreds of astronomers observe the moon every night. So you'd think anything odd popping up in its orbit would have set off alarms around the world, right?
It did set off alarms
Still,
around the
NASA's
world. They're
Bob
just not
Anderson
telling us.
thinks they might be satellites.
That's an ordinary man that set off the alarm, that reported it. That's the only reason why we know. The only reason why we know about chariots or there's a mass sightings is not because the government is releasing the information. A lot of these are top secret documents or NASA decide these space. Like I said, they know about the moon landing. They know about Neil Armstrong's in the astronauts conversation, what they saw on the moon. They're not just releasing it to the public because of fear. So it takes ordinary people to document this and show it to the world, put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook, and put it on the World Wide Web. And that's when they have these experts come in to refute it. Because they don't want you to know that those things, those UFOs that they call, are actually the angels preparing for the great destruction of the Lord, day of the Lord. Play.
Just not in the moon's orbit, but in ours.
At first, I thought it might be satellites circling the Earth, or a group of satellites that are orbiting the Earth.
That would make sense, because it's getting crowded up there, with actual clusters of satellites like SpaceX's Starlink network.
No, the angels don't fly like that.
The company has launched over 1,700 so far, with the option to add another 10,000. This seems to be case closed, except in studying the video more closely, Anderson and D'Antonio both see something that doesn't match up with satellites.
Check this out.
Right here, these objects are coming close to each other and then getting far away. So that negates the possibility that these are satellites. Maybe we're actually looking at birds. They fly around.
I tell you, Esau's a damn devil to Bible speak up.
Okay.
So you telling me at nighttime as the brother, as the Edomite is looking at the chariots orbiting over the moon, so you're telling me that he's actually seeing birds in a satellite? That's what you're telling me? That he's seeing birds, in his telescope? That's what you're telling me. So those are birds flying at a slow pace in his telescope. Think about how big a telescope is. If birds were flying, birds would fly quickly out of the lens, out of the scope of the lens. But you see the chariots are orbiting slowly above the moon. It's not like it's look how fast the birds are flying. Yeah, you can see the shape. Now check this out, what the devil says.
Haphazardly through the sky.
The birds and their flapping wings form silhouettes that appear
Look
on
what
the
the
camera
devil does.
sensor as round objects.
It's very likely that we're looking at migratory
It's very
birds
likely.
of some kind.
Nothing's based upon facts. Here's the verdict.
Satellites don't speed up and slow down, and the video was shot and made during migration.
That's the moon.
So
how is wait, you see the video he shot and made was during the migration series, migration. So how's the birds all the way up there in the space? That's my question. So the birds are flying in space? I'm telling you, it's that Jedi mind check. It's not what you think you saw. It's not what you're seeing. Go on.
This one, migrating birds.
So he's
Still,
calling
the space
migrating
around
birds.
the moon could be getting crowded soon. NASA's Artemis
Now let's go
program
back.
aims to return humans.
Okay. No, I don't need that. Thank you.
Sirach, chapter 40.
Now, so it says from the moon is a sign of feast. The month is called after its name. Now let's go to Leviticus chapter 23. Verse 4.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 4.
Verse 1.
Verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season.
Which ye shall proclaim in their season. From the moon is a sign of feast, which is proclaimed within each season. For example, verse 5.
For the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover.
So the 14th day in the first month is the Lord's Passover at even. What season is the Passover in? Springtime. Now jump to verse 10.
Verse 10. Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when ye be come into the land.
Or when you read Genesis chapter 8 verse 22, it'll be called seed time. Springtime, Passover. It's when we start to plant our crops. Go on.
When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priests.
Jump to verse 17 now.
Verse 17, ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord.
So, Feast of First Fruits is still in the springtime, the spring season. Now go to verse 24.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, and the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation.
So it says in the 7th day, in the 7th month, we base our feast days off of the months within their seasons. So you have memorial blowing a trumpet, was held in the 7th month, the highest new moon. Within the season, go on. Now go to verse 27. Now sometimes, like I said, depending. Like I said, sometimes it could fall in the fall. Like Tabernacles falls in the fall time. Sometimes it'll still be within the springtime, based upon the full moon. Now jump to verse 27.
Also, in the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be
go on.
It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
So September, the 7th day is going to the 7th month. Go to verse 34 now.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord.
So also it's Feast of Tabernacles. So now, showing you that how we based our time by observing the moon, the full moon dictate what season or what high holy day are within that season, like Passover. We understand based upon the time. We understand based upon what the spring equinox around that time period, what is called the seed time, or the month of Abib is when the Passover. 14 days after the first full moon is the Passover. Then you count 50 weeks from that, 50 days from that, 49 days from there. Then you have what is called Feast of Pentecost. Then you have Feast of Day of Atonement. 7 months. You count 7 new moons. Memorial blowing the trumpet. You count, or the Feast of Tabernacles, 7 moons. So all of these feasts are within their seasons, within a certain month, time period. Now, go to 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 9. So how many months are within a year?
2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 9. Jehoiakim was 8 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. And when the year was expired, King Nebuchadnezzar sent and brought him to Babylon with the goodly vessels of the house of the Lord.
When the year what?
Was expired.
I'm sending you a picture real quick. King Jehoiakim. So it says Jeconiah reigned for 3 months. And when it says in a year expired, what does it mean by the year expired? When a year came to its end. Now, let's see when did Jehoiakim reign. Read that last part again.
And when the year was expired, King Nebuchadnezzar sent and brought him to Babylon with the goodly vessels of the house of the Lord, and made Zedekiah his brother king over Judah and Jerusalem.
Go on.
Verse 11. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem.
I saw one. You got it? So now, let's see. How long did he reign?
King Jeconiah reigned December 9th, 598, March 1516 to 597 BCE.
So let's see. It says March, when the year what?
When the year expired.
When the year expired. He reigned for 3 months, and when the year expired. Meaning the year expired when? March. Starting the new year. That's why between the spring equinox, March and April, depending on where the full moon falls, is what? 14 days after is the Passover, but 14 days prior is the full moon, the first month, or the new year. When the year expired, when the year came to an end, a conclusion. Now go to 1 Kings chapter 4. Verse 7.
1 Kings chapter 4, verse 7.
So during when that full moon, around March, April, the month of Abib, springtime, or the Bible calls seed time, the spring equinox around that time period. That's when we start counting our months. So the first month of the year, based upon the full moon, wherever it falls, we start our months, and that's how we dictate what high holy days, which high holy days fall in what month and which season. Go on.
And Solomon had 12 officers over all Israel, which provided victuals for the king and his household. Each man his month in a year made provision.
So read that again.
And Solomon had 12 officers.
Salamon had 12 officers, read.
Over all Israel, which provided victuals for the king and his household. Each one of those 12 men, read.
His month. You had an officer over every month to provide food for the whole nation. Read.
In a year.
Go on.
Made
provisions. So each month showed how many months in a year? 12 months out of the year. And the year expires around March, April, the month of Abib. And the first month of the year is around Passover. Give me that in Exodus chapter 12.
Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
It shall be the first month in the year to you. What month? Jump to verse 11.
Verse 11. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
It is the Lord's Passover. For 14 days prior to the Passover is the first month out of the year. What we call it now? Give me Deuteronomy 16. Called the month of Abib, the heir of corns, or what the Bible calls a seed time. When you start to plant your seed, your crops. That's why when it starts to get warmer, you see the trees start to bud. Like I got a fruit tree, a plum tree. I'm starting to see the trees start to bud, start to flower. The grasses start to become green. The plants, my flowers that was planted from last year start to spring up again. Your lilies, your tulips. That's when the farmers start to plant, because why? It's the month of the year, the first month of the year, or the month of Abib, the heir of corns, the seed time. Go on.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night.
I don't have it on me. Do we have the Zoner Compact Bible Dictionary? Let's read that. Observe the month of Abib. See what does that read.
This is the Compact Zondervan Bible Dictionary, page 13. Abib, an ear of corn, the pre-exilic name for the first month of the year. After the exile, the name was changed to Nisan. It fell about the time of our march in early April.
So a month of Abib is ear of corn, around March and April, depending on where the full moon falls. All right. Now, we're going to switch gears a little. Now, give me John chapter 11, verse 9. Then we're going to switch gears a little bit.
John chapter 11, verse 9. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world.
So Christ revealed to us the time. We knew time. Because why? The sun hastens in its course within a day period of time. So Christ is revealing that are there not 12 hours in day, meaning daylight. So there's daylight as well as nighttime. So we have 24 hours within a cycle of a day. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. 1 verse 20 now.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth.
And God created great whales and every little creature that moveth. I'll say it again. God created great whales and every creature that moveth. Go on.
Which the waters brought forth abundantly.
So the waters brought forth these creatures abundantly. Go on.
After their kind. And every winged fowl after his kind.
And every winged fowl after this kind. So the fowls also came for the waters. Go on.
And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth.
Now, get me 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 47. So on the fifth day, God created his creatures, his great whales, as well as the fowls. Go on.
2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 47. Upon the fifth day, thou settest unto the seventh part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes. And so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou ordain two living creatures.
Then God says, thou ordained two living creatures out of all the creations. There's two creatures that God separated them out of the bunch. That was special. Go on.
The one thou callest Enoch, and the other Leviathan.
Now, what does it say besides Enoch?
Enoch or Behemoth.
Enoch or Behemoth, and other Leviathan. Go on.
Verse 50. And did it separate the one from the other.
Separated Enoch from Leviathan. These two great creatures. Go on.
For the seventh part, namely, where the waters was gathered together, might not hold them both.
So the waters couldn't hold both of these. They're so large and big. God says the waters can't hold both of these creatures together. I got to separate one. One has to dwell in the water, and one has to dwell on land. Read.
Unto Enoch thou gavest one part, which was dried up the third day.
Enoch, also Behemoth, God gave one part, which is dried up on the third day, meaning land, earth. Go on.
That he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills.
Wherein are 1,000 hills. Can you give me a picture of hills? Wherein are 1,000 hills. Go there. No, right there. All right, read out the last part again.
But, verse 51. Unto Enoch thou gavest one part, which was dried up the third day, that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills.
Wherein are 1,000 hills. Let's deal with Enoch first and foremost. So let's go to Job chapter 40, verse 15. We're going to deal with Enoch or Behemoth. Job spoke about it.
Job chapter 40, verse 15. Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee.
So Behemoth is also Enoch. One of the creatures God said, you know what? Enoch or Behemoth is going to dwell on land, dry land, because why? The land as well as the waters couldn't contain them both. So God had to separate the two. Behold what?
Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox.
Enoch eateth grass as an ox. They call Enoch a herbivore. Go on.
Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly.
Go on.
He moveth his tail like a cedar.
He moved Enoch, Behemoth, moveth his tail like a cedar, meaning his tail is very large. Go on.
The sinews of his stones are wrapped together.
The sinews of his balls are wrapped together. Go on.
His bones are as strong pieces of brass.
Read.
His bones are like bars of iron.
Read.
He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food.
Surely the what?
Mountains.
Surely the what?
Mountains.
That's why it says in 1,000 hills. Surely the mountains bring forth his food. Read.
Where all the beasts of the field play.
Where all the beasts of the field play. So Behemoth, Enoch, is in the mountains where it brings forth all his foods. Where all the other beasts of the field play. Go on.
He lieth under the shady trees and the covert of the reed.
So there's mountainous areas. In 2nd Ezra it says thousands of hills, right? There's mountainous areas with thousands of hills where Enoch and Behemoth gets all his food covered with trees. Go on.
He lieth under the shady trees and the covert of the reed and fens.
Of the what?
And the covert of the reed and fens.
Read that again. In the covert?
And the covert of the reed and fens.
In the covert of the reed. Look up covert. T.
Covert. Not
Come on.
Not openly acknowledged or displayed.
Covert. Not openly acknowledged or displayed. So read that part again now.
He lieth under the shady trees and the covert of the reed and fens.
So he's not openly displaying himself in a covert of the reeds as well as the fens. Go on.
The shady trees cover him with their shadow.
So notice how the Bible keeps on mentioning hills, mountains. The shady trees do what?
Cover him with their shadow.
The shady trees cover Enoch and Behemoth with their shadow. It's not openly known. It's not openly displayed for everybody to see him. Go on.
The willows of the brook compass him about.
The willows of the brook. Look at willows. The willows of the brooks compass about him. More trees. Go on. Cover him. Go on.
Behold, he drinketh up a river and hasteth not.
And this beast, this Enoch, this creature, drinketh up a whole river and hasteth not. He takes his time. Go on.
He trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth.
This beast is so big, it trusted that it can drink up Jordan with his mouth. Go on.
He taketh it with his eyes. His nose pierceth through snares.
Now, Enoch, they'll call, type in Behemoth in the internet. Oh, I know you guys are going to have to, oh gosh, Bohemian. Understand, they're black. And spelling is not our strength, not the vocab. Behemoth. Can you spell Behemoth for them?
Behemoth.
B-E-H-E-B-E-H-E-M-O-T-H. All right, go to images. See if they have it up. Hey, wait. Okay, a huge. Go down. Okay, Esau's not going to give it to us, huh? So, okay, there it goes. Click that. Esau knows. Scholars and a mystery behemoth. You see his legs? Now go to another picture. Right there. Go to Brontosaurus. Oh, gosh, I don't expect you to spell that. Let's go to Dinosaurs. Let's put Dinosaurs. And we'll find out the bunch. Now go click that first picture. Brontosaurus. So this is a description of Behemoth or Enoch, one of the Brontosaurus. No, Bronchiosaurus. Whatever, tomato. Esau, who came up with Bronchiosaurus anyway? Like, come on, like, like Bronchiosaurus, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Hyposolian Hycodon. Like, who came up with these names? Like, somebody definitely had to be high when they was naming these animals. All right, now, let's go to evidence. Now, give me the video of Esau saying how the dinosaurs became extinct. So let's see, let God be true or every man a liar. So are dinosaurs extinct the way Esau says it to be? I know all of you grew up in science class studying that there's an asteroid that came and struck Earth and has wiped out all life form, wiped out dinosaurs, and from there for the organisms that came and create humans. Play.
2 trillion metric tons of rock is headed straight for them, and impact is less than 20 minutes away. But the rock's enormous mass is only part of the threat. As it gets closer to the planet, the Earth's gravitation takes just 4 minutes to cross the Atlantic Ocean on its way towards Mexico and the Alamosaurus. It takes just 5 seconds to flash through the atmosphere. The impact seems instantaneous. But hidden within this cataclysm is a series of discrete events, invisible to the naked eye, but key to understanding what follows. The asteroid's trajectory is shallow. It flies in at around a 30-degree angle to the surface. Even before the fireball touches down, its brightness in the sky is unimaginable.
That's the question I'm trying to come to, or the conclusion I'm trying to come to. If they're able to predict, or they're able to go into science and say, you know what, there's millions of years ago, there's dinosaurs that roamed the earth based upon the fossils that we're finding, and there was an asteroid that actually wiped them off the face of the earth. And it was millions, and when it hit Earth, it was a force of millions of, what is it? He said millions of tons? Megatons of force. How were they, once again, how are they able to predict or come up with millions of force? It's impossible if you're not there. Go on.
Power of the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
So they're able to weigh against Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
If the asteroid had crashed into deep ocean, some of the force would have been absorbed.
So that's it. So the last day of dinosaurs. So this Esau said dinosaurs were extinct. Millions, millions or billions of years ago, they said. They said millions of years ago, based upon an asteroid hitting Earth, dinosaurs became extinct. Oh, yeah? Okay, let's see if that's true. Let's go to the documentary. There's something called Mokel Membe. Let's see if dinosaurs are really extinct. Notice out. Now, I want you to point this out. We read in the scriptures. In 2 Ezra 6, it says, He dwelleth amongst 1,000 hills. Then Job chapter 40, it says he dwells in the shadow of the trees. Covert, read that again.
Verse 21, he lieth under the shady trees, in the covert of the reed and fens. The shady trees cover him with their shadow. The willows of the brook compass him about.
So notice how the description of his dwelling place is all under trees, shady trees. He lies covertly in the shadows, meaning he's not out there openly for display. Play that.
Terrified the masses.
This animal can hurt everything in the river.
This massive creature is said to be twice the size of an elephant.
They talk about an animal between 30 to 70 feet in length.
With long, thin neck, bulbous body, and the heavy tail, the elephant-like legs.
An animal thought to have been extinct for centuries.
In fact, I think I'd feel safer in Jurassic Park.
Now, Monster Quest travels to the wildest continent to search for the last living dinosaur.
Whoa. All up and down like
Notice
this.
how he said the last living dinosaur. Now, the scientist is going to show, as you're going to see as we watch on, he explains that it's impossible for a dinosaur to coexist by itself. It needs a multitude of dinosaurs to exist. You can't just, not one dinosaur alone could just exist without other dinosaurs. Go on.
Wow, what is that?
And there are these footprints, huge footprints.
Witnesses around the world report seeing monsters. Are they real or imaginary? Science searches for answers on Monster Quest. Africa, the cradle of mankind. This continent contains some of the world's most magnificent wildlife, from the gorilla and elephant to giraffe and gazelle. Among this vast wilderness, much of it unexplored, some believe there could be a monster that is a living relic, hidden deep in the jungle. This huge creature is said to prowl the land and lurk beneath inland waters. Natives call it Mekele Mbembe, one that stops the flow of rivers.
Wait, stop. Pause. Mekele Mbembe, one that stops the flows of rivers. Read that part.
Verse 22. Verse 23. Behold, he drinketh up a river and hasteth not. He trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth.
One that stops the flows of rivers. Play.
Sides, scales, a fringe of scales down the back.
Footprints of the order of 3 feet in circumference.
He always came out
footprints
of the
in 3 feet in circumference. How big is 3 feet? Let's see. Yeah, 36 inches. So about as big as something like that. Think, what animal you know footprint is this big? Not one animal on this earth. Footprint is that big. Play. Go on.
To find food.
The people call this animal Mokele Mbembe.
Hey, pause it. I heard it keep on taking it off. Who cut the feed? You too? Why? Let me know when we're back on. Is it back on? Let's go.
Witnesses report seeing a creature with a long neck and a snake-like head.
Play it. Yeah, play it.
They say it has a body as big as an elephant with 4 legs, claw-like feet, and a long tail. Most of these accounts suggest it is a semi-aquatic animal that spends most of its time in the rivers that run through the jungle.
I was afraid because I hadn't seen this type of animal before.
Now, were you
They won't allow us to play the video. That's crazy. What about IUIC TV or Facebook? We're down on Facebook too? Oh gosh, so you can't play it at all, huh? No? This documentary's crazy. All right, Israel. You look at the picture. I'm telling you. All right, we're not going to be able to play it then, right? No? All right, we're not going to be able to play it. Okay. Back up. All right, sorry about that, Israel. Esau is not going to allow us to play it. They won't allow us to play the documentary. Well, like I said, we're going to add a documentary in an edit. So when we edit the class, we're going to add a documentary. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to reveal it. So I'm just going to summarize it for you. You can watch this video clip, evidence of the Mokele Membe dinosaur. Showing you, is the feast going again? No. Showing you, so just to give you a brief description of Mokele Membe is the Brontosaurus or Bronchiosaurus. Esau, or you have villagers within the Congo. The Congo, I believe, is I think the second biggest rainforest in the world. Can you get a picture of the Congo rainforest to show how vast it is? Esau can't even go in. They saying that they don't know whether or not this stuff is based or is true, only because they can't even go in the rainforest. That's how big it is. And when they did try to go in the rainforest, 5 minutes within, they said they already discovered new creatures that they never seen before on this earth. We're back on. So they never seen these creatures before. So they said the Mokele Membe, it comes out from the Congo rainforest and it drinks up the water. So one man, and so Esau came to the village. They say, yo, can you identify, picture what you saw, this big creature that you saw? And Esau had different diagrams of different dinosaurs, and they pointed to the Bronchiosaurus. And they saying that could go up to 60 feet in length, 60 to 90 feet. That's how big Mokele Membe is. And one guy was one day, he was drinking water. See if you could type in Mokele Membe. Oh, Lord. It's MOKELE space Membe. There you go. Michele Membe. Bronchiosaurus. Now go back to the images. Go down. See live footage. There should be live footage of it. Go. Right? Pause. So they said that's one image right there. Africa's Loch Ness Monster. That's a Loch Ness Monster, they say. Go down. Yeah. The monster of the lake. Go down. So notice how you type in Michele Membe, what comes up? Dinosaurs. So on the Congo, now go back to the Congo rainforest, see how vast it is. I don't want the actual I want the actual map to see how vast it is. Congo rainforest. I clicked it over there. Let's see, that's it. Bruh. That's how big the rainforest is. And that's why Esau can go in there. And you notice how, now get Jurassic Park. So they removed the class from Facebook? Okay. Notice how Jurassic Park, where they had to actually leave the city and they had to go to a land not inhabited. Go on. Oh, okay, disclaimer again. You gonna knock us off? Damn devils.
This species
Oh my
of
gosh,
form
Bill.
has been extinct since the Cretaceous period. I mean, this thing is
a dinosaur. Michele Membe. Always in the forested area. What do you think Jurassic Park based the movie off of? The Congo and the Amazonian rainforest. That's it. Now, get me the next one. Aztec. Poseidon Rex. So, there's a movie that came out. The two Tyrannosaurus movies, Aztec, Poseidon Rex, for dinosaur action. Now, my question is, why do they have a dinosaur movie called Aztec Poseidon Rex?
Two movies using the Tyrannosaurus Rex as a monster in a strange setting that makes no sense with Aztec Rex and Poseidon Rex for some B-movie fun.
They say it makes no sense. Why did so Aztec Tyrannosaurus Rex? Go on.
Released in 2008 and 2013, they are the same type of movie and yet so different. You wouldn't have high expectations for these movies, and I avoided them since I didn't think there could be anything worthy of value in them, but I was wrong.
Now go down. All right, wait for you two. Because of the videos, right? All right, we just don't want to play any more video clips. That's all right. That's okay, Israel. Be patient. And you had a disclaimer, right? played videos last week. They didn't knock us off. That make no sense. We played videos last week. They didn't do this stuff. These guys are the devil about speaking. Still live on Facebook? All right. Let's wait for YouTube to come back up. Are we live on YouTube? Yeah. We're back. Okay. All right. Aztec Rex. Go down. Oh, let's read Aztec Rex.
Aztec Rex.
Wait a minute. Why is there a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the Aztec temple? What's the correlation?
We all know the story of Cortez conquering Mexico, but few know the story of him fighting a T-Rex. This movie is so ridiculous that I can't help but love the concept. We begin with a sacrifice, which for the Aztecs was normal day to day, which it hadn't been so dark. Having T-Rex be the Quetzalcoatl is fantastic, though. The T-Rex needed feathers to make it like the ancient Aztec god named the feathered lizard, though, to make it accurate, so close to making it perfect. The sacrifice of the feathered Rex were done better by the 1994 and 2014 Dinosaur Island movies. I think the Aztec setting is severely underused in fiction with so much potential, so I'm glad they went with it. Funny enough, the ending of the story can be somewhat similar to something that happened, and because of this and a town that was left untouched by Cortez in Mexico, I found this info by coincidence shortly after watching the movie and found it amusing.
Go down. I want to go to the synopsis of the movie. Okay, let's see. Okay, go on.
This Tyrannosaurus Azteca looks rather fake, but I'm sure it was a big part of the budget. Clearly CG and funny at times, but not in a bad way. Looks like from a video game. You speak my language when neither is speaking Spanish nor Nahuatl. We get some logical conflict, some sword fight between conquistadors, also fights between.
I want to go to the actual the movie synopsis. So this is not giving me what I want when they explain it. Aztec Rex. Go to the Aztec Rex. Movies on, basically. IMDb. I am. Go down. Keep scrolling down. Storyline.
It says, a band of 16th century conquistadors must fight for their lives when they realize they're going to be served as sacrifices to a godlike T-Rex. Plot synopsis right there. Click that. Plot synopsis. That John right there. Synopsis. 2 years before his famous encounter with Montezuma, Cortez is sent on a scouting mission to shores south of Mexico, where he and his band of conquistadores discover a small tribe of Aztecs who sacrificed their own people to satisfy the hunger of the thunder lizard living in the jungle.
So it says, why are they going into history, point out Cortez and how he came upon a village in Mexico and it found the Aztec people sacrificing their people to the thunder lizard or to the T-Rex? Why would they associate a dinosaur that was extinct millions of years ago with the Aztecs and them sacrificing the people to the lizards, to the dinosaurs? Now, I don't know how true that is. Esau just don't put things in the movies for no reason. Cortez must have came across something for the reason for Esau to write this movie. What's an association? What kind of film, what kind of producer, a film producer would come up with a film like this? A storyline like this? Dinosaurs and Aztecs. The Mexicans sacrificing to the god, to the T-Rex. Let's go to the next footage. Let's go to some of the images that the Aztecs saw in ancient Mexico, in Mesoamerica. Come on. In ancient Mexico. In ancient Mexico. Can you go back to Telegram?
In ancient Mexico.
Put it on the screen.
In ancient Mexico and Mesoamerica, the Mexicans had already specified what dinosaurs were before we knew them as such.
In ancient Mexico and in Mesoamerica, the Mexicans had already specified what dinosaurs were before we knew them as such. Why didn't Esau know about dinosaurs until they came to the side of the world? Because the dinosaurs lived in the Congo rainforest as well as the Amazonian rainforest, primarily. It wasn't in Europe, the bottomless pit. They were in Amazon as well as the Congo, and they're still in Amazon as well as the Congo. Why were the Mexicans able to depict ancient dinosaurs that was killed off millions of years ago by an asteroid? And there's a picture of them riding it, the Aztecs. And why would Esau do a movie based upon the Aztecs and the Tyrannosaurus Rex if dinosaurs were extinct? Look, now go down, see what the devil says. Look at one of the comics.
This is fake. You'll notice that the Triceratops fits what we used to think they looked like. But now we know some ceratopsians may have had hair like filaments. Also, the hand craftsmanship doesn't fit.
Now go down. You're right.
You're right. This is fake. A quick image search takes you to Wikipedia and a discussion that dates the figures to about 1939.
So you notice how the white man, anytime you bring proof of an existence of the dinosaur, anything that the Bible talks about are still existing today that goes against Esau's science, they say it's fake. They come up with some type of theory that, oh, no, that's fake. That was drawn during this time period. Or another person said, oh, those pictures, those images of dinosaurs are fake. And based upon the skeletons of the dinosaurs, the Aztecs was able to picture and put themselves in their in existence with dinosaurs. Just like they said with the UFOs, with the chariots. They said, oh, that's fake. Those are birds flying. Oh, no, the universe is centered around the sun. The opposition of science, which is oppositive. It opposes the Bible. Everything the Bible says, they say the opposite because they're the devil. They're the adversary. They're adverse from God. Now go to the next one, the picture. Now let's see if this is fake. Got it? No. Thank you. Yes. So, let's see if that's fake. Oh, what is that? A pterodactyl. I thought dinosaurs non-existent or dinosaurs being extinct for millions of years. But it's fake. But you got the devil taking a picture. I think what time period is this? Was this I think this was the late 1800s. But they have a clear picture of a pterodactyl. But it's fake. Get the next image. Get the actual image of them. And what war is this? What's this? World War I. No, get the pterodactyl with the soldiers. Right there. Pull that up. Let's see. That's another image of soldiers. Let's see if that image is fake. Another image of pterodactyl. And guess what? Esau killing them. Esau knows dinosaurs are real. They make movies like Jurassic Park, and they said, y'all niggas stay in the dark. You stay in America in your bubble called the Matrix and still think the earth is flat. No, the earth is vast, it's large, it's big. Now let's get another image of it flying. It looks like a bird, actually. That's the video? Yeah, get the video. Put the video up. They can't. Come on. A YouTube video they're going to shut down? You think they'll do that? Look at the head. Look at the head. That's not a normal bird. That's a big-ass head. That's a long rectangular head. Tell me a bird that's that big with wings like that. What is it, Batman? And where's that located? Damn, in Ohio. Look at that. That's fake. Idaho. Now, let's get the Inca stones. Click the article. Actually, go to the article. Inca stones at Cabrera Museum. No, Inca stones at Cabrera Museum.
Inca stones at the Cabrera Museum. Peru's not so mysterious carved stones.
Go on. Scroll down.
It is a rare object that stimulates the curiosity of archaeologists, ancient astronaut theorists, Atlantis supporters, and creationalists who want to prove that dinosaurs coexisted with men. But the mysterious carved Ica stones of Peru may just be the ticket. Housed in a small private museum created by Peruvian physician Dr. Javier Cabrera in 1966, more than 10,000 stones of various sizes are carved with intriguing images of a lost civilization. And an astonishing variety of images covering a vast array of subjects, the stones show dinosaurs frolicking, assorted extinct animals, maps and depictions of advanced surgical methods.
Now go down. Let's go to the actual stones now. Let's see the stones. All right. So they said over 10,000 stones of dinosaurs. So dinosaurs are extinct, but they discover over 10,000 stones of depictions of dinosaurs. And look how clear-cut they are. No man can say, you know what, let me look at, they say that they dug up the fossils, and that's how they're able to draw the dinosaurs. So you tell me the Incas dug into the dirt, dug up the fossils, put the bones together, and then they painted the dinosaurs. But why do they have dinosaurs? Look, why would they paint a dinosaur, T-Rex, eating one of the villagers? Now go to the next image. Go to the arrow to the right. Go on. That's it. Now let's go to the next image. Can you please find the next image? The next telegram. Huh? Yep, that's probably where they got the movie. A Tyrannosaurus Rex. The Inca Empire or the Aztec Empire sacrificing their own to keep away the lizard-like god. Let's go to the next image. Go down. Go down.
Do ancient drawings and sculptures of dinosaurs prove anything?
I'll go down. Show you some of this is stone carving from Peru, the Inca stones. Look, that's an Inca on the dinosaur. Go down. Go down. So that's Kachiva cave drawings. Stop. Kuwait cave drawings. A Bronchiosaurus. Go down. Enlarge that image right there. Enlarge it. Come down. Come down. Come on, come down. Look, the Incas with dinosaurs. Look. Go down. Man. Sauropod dinosaur. Go down. The Altamira cave painting. So these are different paintings, different accounts of people seeing dinosaurs. Look. Look at all those dinosaurs they're drawing. So dinosaurs are extinct millions of years ago, but you have the Aztec and Inca Empire has a clear, vivid depiction of what a dinosaur is. Go on. Is that it? All right. Now, let's go Leviathan. That's enough. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6.
2nd Ezra chapter 6. Verse 52. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the 7th part, namely the moist, and hast kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when.
So Leviathan was given the 7th part, meaning was given the waters, the seas, the oceans. And it says, and has kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when. Leviathan's sole purpose is to devour and destroy. Get me Job. Actually, get me Go to Job chapter 40. No, Psalm chapter 104, verse 24.
Psalms chapter 104, verse 24. O Lord, how manifold are thy works, and wisdom hast thou made them all. The earth is full of thy riches. So is this great and wide sea, wherein are things creeping innumerable, both small and great beasts.
Both small and great beasts. Read.
There go the ships.
There go the ships. Read.
There is that Leviathan.
And where the ships are, there is that Leviathan. There go those ships. And that's why I say he keepeth to devour. And when to devour? To devour what? Those ships. Go on.
Whom thou hast made to play therein.
God says, I'm going to give the Leviathan to play with those ships of the seas. Go on.
These wait all upon thee, that thou mayest give them their meat in due season.
God says, I give those ships, I send the ships out there to give Leviathan its meat in due season. Get me Job chapter 41, verse 1 now.
Job chapter 41, verse 1. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook?
Can you fish Leviathan just like you overfish the sea? Can you fish my great beast, my sea monster? Read.
Or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down?
Can you create or can you make a hook big enough to fish Leviathan out? Go on.
Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with an horn?
This God's saying this is one creation. This is one fish that you can't fish out. Go on.
Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee?
Will Leviathan, when he sees you speak soft words to you, when he says, oh, hello, Esau, would you like to fish me? Would you like some meat? Go on.
Will he make a covenant with thee?
This is one beast that God did not give dominion to man. God said, this beast alone? No, I'm not going to make a covenant with it. This beast is going to destroy ships. This beast is going to devour when I send those ships out there in the ocean. Read.
Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird? Or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens?
You know what? They said, you have the captain of the Titanic says, not even God can sink the ship. Now, an iceberg, so you're telling me an iceberg cut the Titanic in half? No. There goes that Leviathan. You spoke. I'm telling you, I can't prove it, but the captain spoke out of his mouth, said not even God can sink the ship. God said this, hold my wine. Leviathan, show them what we do. There goes that Leviathan, crack that ship up in half probably. That's what God's saying. God feeds ships with Leviathan. God feeds Leviathan with ships. You spoke against God, God sent his pen against you. That's what I think. Go on.
Shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Lay thine hand upon him. Remember the battle. Do no more. Behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? None is so fierce that dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand before me? Who hath prevented me that I should repay him? Whatsoever is under the whole heaven is mine. I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely proportion. Who can discover the face of his garment? Or who can come to him with his double bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible round about.
Go on.
His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a closed seal.
His scales are his pride, shut up together. You can't even pierce his skin. Go on.
One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They stick together that they cannot be sundered. By his nestings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids out the morning.
By his nestings a light doth. Look up nestings. Look up nestings. S-I-N-G. And you wonder where they get the movie Godzilla from. Godzilla swims in the water. Its scales is tight. and it breathes out fire. But this is a mythical creature. It's not real, right? But they base movies all over on Leviathan. Or they call it the Kraken. Got it? Nessings. It says, what is the Bible? Nessing's definition. No. Go down, go down. Nessing's definition and meaning.
Niece.
What does that say? These English distinction can mean either sneeze or snort. And it's impossible to say which King James the Hebrews was found, but this animal has a habit of inflating himself, and after discharges through his nostrils, the moist and heated. Oh, go down it right there. This animal.
Niecings. And
this animal.
This animal has a habit of inflating himself, and after this, he discharges through his nostrils the moist, heated vapor.
The moist, heated vapor. He heats the water with his vapors. Go on.
Which sparkles in the sunlight. The act is neither a sneeze nor a snort, but the latter word is sufficiently descriptive. There is no allusion to legendary fire-spouting monsters.
Now, let's go back.
Verse 18. By his niecings.
Is our Facebook still up? Keep going.
By his niecings a light doth shine, and his eyelids are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps and sparks of fire.
So Leviathan also shoots fire out of his mouth. That's what you call a dragon. You have on land, or you have land dragons. That's why St. George the Dragon Slayer our forefathers were able to kill. And then you have seawater or sea dragons, sea creature dragons. Go on.
Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. In his neck remaineth strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him.
Keep going.
The flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves. They cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone. When he raiseth up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reason of breakings they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold. The spear, the dart, nor the harbigan. He esteemeth iron as straw, and brass as rotted wood. The iron cannot make him flee. The arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into stubble. Darts are counted as stubble. He laugheth at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp pointed things upon the mire. He maketh the deep to boil like a pot. He maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh a path to shine after him. One would think the deep to be hoary. Upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is a king over all the children of pride.
He's a king over all Edomites. All the God created him to put Esau in check and to feed him and send Esau out there and have him devoured by Leviathan. Notice how it described. When you look at the description, wait a minute, that sounds like a dragon. Leviathan is a dragon. Or Esau calls it a dragon. God calls it Leviathan, a fire-breathing water serpent. Get me the clip. And Esau knows it. That's why you see the movie clips. Give me the clip from Pirates of the Caribbean. Esau knows Leviathan. He says Esau has seen it many times. We have documented records. We have pictures. And that's why they have it in movies. You call it the Kraken. God calls it Leviathan. I bet you saw this movie, Pirates of the Caribbean. You didn't even catch this. You got it? Play. Unmute it.
Take it. I would trade anything for it. It's funny what a man will do to forestall his final judgment.
You made a deal with him too, Jack. He raised the pearl from the depths for you. 13 years you've been a captain.
Technically.
Jack, you won't be able to talk yourself out of this. The terms would apply to me, apply to you as well. One soul, bound to crew 100 years upon a ship.
Yes, but the Flying Dutchman already has a captain, so there's
Well,
really...
then it's a locker for you. Jones's terrible Leviathan will find you.
Wait, pause that. Go back, go back. Now the Pearl is a ship. Why did you go to 214? Go back. Why did you go so far? No, come on. Right there. Start there.
It's funny what a man will do to forestall his final judgment.
You made a deal with him too, Jack. He raised the pearl from the depths for you. 13 years you've been a captain.
Technically.
Jack, you won't be able to talk yourself out of this. The terms would apply to me, apply to you as well. One soul, bound to crew 100 years upon a ship.
Yes, but the Flying Dutchman already has a captain, so there's really...
Well, then it's a locker for you. Jones's terrible Leviathan will find
Stop,
you.
pause. Jones's terrible Leviathan will find you. What is Leviathan going to do? Play.
Drag the pearl back to the depths and you along with it.
Pause. And drag the Pearl, which is a ship, back to the depths and you along with it. Now let's go to the scene. Find me the clip with Leviathan or the Kraken to say. Dragging the ship down to the depths. Huh? All right. All right. All right, we just won't play it. All right, wait for you two to come back up. We're just going to have to edit this class. We can't have this playing on YouTube. All right, let's go on. We can't play any more YouTube clips? All right, let's play the little actual Leviathan clip. Let's go. We're on Facebook, so we can go back. All right, now pull up the Kraken and the ships. The Kraken in Pirates of the Caribbean. Yep. Right there.
Yeah, I'm going to call it right.
Play. All right, play it.
Take it!
Leviathan. There goes the ships. Now, pause that. Read Job again. Read Psalms 104. Now give me the next image.
Psalm chapter 1.
We back up on YouTube? All right. Give me the next image.
Psalm chapter 104, verse 26. There go the ships. There is that Leviathan, whom thou hast made to play therein. These wait all upon thee, that thou mayest give them their meat in due season.
Mm-hmm. So it says, there goes Leviathan, and there goes those ships, that God may give them their meat in due season. Now, all right. Now, like I said, we'll have the video edited. It's going to be a lot of editing going on. All right, now, you see this is a map that was created in the early 1400s, I believe. Now, if you notice the location, I want you to go early. I want you to zoom in. Zoom all the way in. Oh, what's that? Go down. What is that? That's a ship. What is that? There goes Leviathan. This is an ancient map. Now, the next picture I want you to go to, I want you to actually go to, which is blog Biodiversity Library. Will of Till the Leviathan.
A whale of a tail, the Leviathan.
Didn't this guy say he created great whales? A whale of a tail, the Leviathan. Go down. And what do they call it? What does Esau call it?
The devil whale.
And they call it the devil whale. Go on.
In the 6th century AD, St. Brendan, an Irish cleric, and 18 other monks sailed out from Ireland to cross the ocean. Amidst their journey, they came upon a black, treeless island and decided to make camp for the night. Several monks set up a cooking station and lit a fire. And then the island began to move. Terrified, the monks fled back to their boat, leaving the food and fire behind. St. Brandon urged them not to be afraid. It was simply the great fish, Jasconius, which laboreth night and day to put his tail in his mouth. But for greatness he may not.
Go down. All right, go down, go down, go down, go down. All right, right there.
Gessner describes Jasconius by another name, the troll whale or devil whale, which lies asleep in the water and is often mistaken for an island by hapless sailors. Gessner was likely inspired by Magnus, who claims that the whale's skin is like sand, lending to its confusion with a beach. When the whale is disturbed by the sailors' dinner fires, it sinks, causing such a whirlpool that the ships themselves are often sunk.
Now go down. One second. Go down. Go down. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Go. Right there.
Pristers. Pristers are found in multiple forms throughout Marina and in many subsequent publications. Magnus actually identified these beasts as whales, describing them as 200 cubits long and very cruel.
Go down. Read that.
The common feature among them is the presence of two blowholes, most often acting as water cannons, drowning unlucky vessels. Magnus warns, to the danger of seamen, he will sometimes raise himself beyond the sail yards and cast such floods of waters above his head, which he had sucked in, that with a cloud of them, he will often sink the strongest ships.
He will sink the strongest ships. That's why God says, there goes that Leviathan. Go on.
Sometimes, not content to do hurt by water only, he will cruelly overthrow the ship like any small vessel, striking it with its back or tail. If that isn't bad enough, Magnus also claims that it has a mouth like a lamprey, whereby he sucks in his meat or water.
Go down.
How can such a beast be defeated?
Did not God go through that with Job? Can you pierce him? Can you put a hook in his tongue, his nose? How can you destroy or defeat Leviathan? Go on.
Not by cannon fire. Magnus warns that the beast's layer of fat is too thick for such absurdities. Instead, try sounding a trumpet, which will startle the monster, or dump some empty barrels in the ocean, with which the creature will become distracted and stop to play.
Go on. So these are historical accounts. Now go back. The Prister monster.
The Prister monsters, actually identified as whales in historic publications,
that's why God said he created great whales. Go on.
Are reported to be mighty enough to sink the strongest ships. Cannon fire was, according to Olaus Magnus, who published 3 versions of them in 1555, useless against these beasts.
You can nothing. A cannon fire, nothing to go against these beasts, Leviathans. Go on.
Instead, sailors should sound trumpets and throw barrels into the water to distract these monsters.
Now go down. Go down. Keep going. Keep going. All right, now I want you to get the other image. The dragon-like serpent. So wrapped around the ship. Nope. Not that one. That one. All right. So this is another image of a Leviathan. As you can see, it's wrapped around the ship. Look how big it is. Look at its scale. What does that look like? An underwater dragon. Now give me the next one. Right there. And what is it doing? All images point to it devouring the ships. Now read that again. Psalms 104.
There go the ships. There is that Leviathan whom thou hast made to play therein.
There goes the ships. There goes that Leviathan which God made to play therein. Read.
These wait all upon thee, that thou mayest give them their meat in due season. That thou givest them, they gather. Thou openest thine hand, they are filled with good.
Now, let's go to the last article. The extinction of the great sea serpent. So, different, like I said, in different periods of time, you have different sailors, captains, and call Leviathan different titles. Some people call it the great sea serpent. Some people call it the devil whale, Magnus, Jacondus. So there's different names that different cultures gave Leviathan. Now go down to, it says the extinction of the great sea serpent. The articles. Go up. Come on. Yep. Enlarge it. Let's start it from the top. It's going to be quite a bit of reading.
The extinction of the great sea serpent. But little has escaped signing with the mark of change in this 19th century, the age of transition. Scientific development has invested most things with a modern air of improvement and utility that contrasts violently with the sturdiness and slow-pacedness so characteristic of the age of our grandfathers. Then people had leisure to be sentimental. Now the stern demands of the business of life.
Go down. Let me see. Go down. Okay, right there. But there's one belief.
But there is one belief deep-rooted in the nautical mind and equally accepted by landsmen that probably will never be effectively eradicated. The sea serpent always has been and always will be a denizen of the ocean. Why should not the mighty sea produce a creation worthy of itself? The wisest paleontologists deny its existence.
We don't care what you deny. The Bible says it exists. Go on.
Say the skeptics. They are able to find no definite data upon which to assign the monster a place in the ranks of animated nature.
We don't care about your data. We don't care about your scientific theory. We don't care about your hypothesis. We care about what the Bible says. Facts. And we have actual evidence, historical evidence. And we're actually reading the evidence right now, as he's going to bring out. Read.
Never mind positive proof, argue the believing ones. Prove conclusively that the creature does not exist. And then, and not till then, will we give up our faith in its being. And so it has come to pass that the sea serpent lives on and will continue to do so until its existence is disproved, a task admittedly impossible.
So they're saying that no matter how many scientists say, it's disproved, it's only a mythological creature, they says it's too much facts and evidence, too much depictions, images, it's on maps everywhere. You can't refute it. When God says, there goes that Leviathan, one creature he created for the land and one he created for the sea, God meant it. Go on.
The widespread belief in the existence of some great ocean monster has been common among all maritime nations from the very first ages. And the prevalent faith in the great sea serpent is no doubt traceable to the myths of our Aryan ancestors. It is worthy of note that the popular notion of the sea serpent is decidedly Miltonic. In Paradise Lost, the description of the archfiend is the exact prototype of the sea serpent as seen by captains of merchantmen and others.
The Kraken.
The Kraken. So minutely described by Pontipinin, the good Bishop of Bergen goes on all fours with the account of the serpent alluded to above. The sea serpent of his day was seen to rise from the sea in undulations, the visible portions looking like islands covered with seaweed, while it waved in the air mast-like arms, capable of dragging ships beneath the waves. Its sudden sinking caused a whirlpool credited with the power of engulfing the stoutest vessels. It is unjust to the memory of the good and pious Pontipinin to think that such a keen observer of nature is exaggerating. But in all probability, the Kraken was one of the gigantic cephalopods which occasionally make their appearance off the Norwegian shore. The Atlantic Ocean is, however, par excellence, the home of the sea serpent. This is not as might be expected, for it is a well-known fact that certain parts of the Indian Ocean, especially those adjacent to India and the East Indian archipelago, swarm with veritable sea serpents, members of the genus Hydrophis or Hydrus. These creatures, which resemble eels, being keeled on their undersides, are but from 2 to 5 feet in length, and it is no doubt owing to their smallness of size and the fact that they occur near land and in considerable numbers that they have never been magnified into real great sea serpents. In mentioning a few of the best authenticated instances of the sea serpent placing itself in evidence, it must be remembered that the monster appeared more frequently when the ocean was much less traversed than it is at present, when wind power reigned supreme, and the size of merchant vessels was far below their present dimensions. Many a shipmaster then had the tedium of a long sea voyage agreeably enlivened by a cursory view of the great Leviathan, whose existence his sympathies and training forbid him to doubt. The Atlantic seaboard of the United States world seemed to be the favorite of the sea serpent, for in June...
Wait, the Atlantic seaboard of the United States was seen to be the favorite haunt of the sea serpent. Why the United States? Why the United States? That's where Esau's headquarters is. That's where all the evil was done in the United States. So God says, I'm going to send Leviathan over there. Go on.
The Atlantic seaboard of the United States would seem to be the favorite haunt of the sea serpent. For in June 1815 and in August 1817, he is said to have been frequently seen deporting himself off Gloucester, some 30 miles from Boston. This specimen appears to have been of the Pontoppidan type, for he looked like a number.
This is the second page, right? Okay, 1 second. What page is that? 350. Okay. All right. I think that's it, right? Was it 3? No. I sent you 2 pages. Come on.
The number, you go up a little bit more. The number of buoys placed in a line. His length was variously estimated from 90 feet to 250 yards.
90 feet to 200. You know how big 90 feet is? 90 feet to 250 yards. That's 2 football fields, 2.5 football fields. That's how big Leviathan is. They said boys place a line. His length was variously estimated from 90 feet to 250 yards. Imagine a sea creature 2.5 football fields in length. That's how big Leviathan is. Go on.
A rather marked difference between the two limits. Once again, in 1819, he was seen off Nahant, also in close proximity to Boston.
Once again, it says the vast majority of the sightings have been in the United States because that's where Esau was given power over the 4th part. That's where the beast resides. So God says, you know what? There goes Leviathan. Send him over there. Send him to the headquarters. Go on.
This time making curves perpendicular to the plane of the water. He paid yet another visit to this locality, being seen in almost the same spot in the summer of 1833. The latitude of Boston is 42 degrees north, yet this does not mark the northern limit of the sea serpent's originations. In June 1834, he was encountered by the ship Robertson of Greenock in 47 degrees north, 57 degrees west. On this occasion, he moved through the water at a speed of 9 miles an hour, keeping up with the vessel and exposing his head and shoulders, which were covered with the thick fluted skin of a green color. In 1835, the Great Serpent was encountered twice, each time by vessels voyaging between Boston and New Orleans. He is next seen by Captain Blyle of the bark Hendris, this time south of the line in 27 degrees south, 15 degrees east. They sailed in company for 9 days when it dropped astern and finally disappeared below the horizon. There is something very peculiar in the behavior of this specimen, for he allowed upward of 100 bullets to penetrate his skin and tinge the sea with blood, without it occurring to him that he could escape from his foes either by submerging himself in the water or putting a greater distance between himself and his tormentors. For 9 days he withstood this anonymous annoyance and then was left behind by the vessel increasing its pace. Perhaps the most important case on record of the appearance of a sea serpent is that reported by the officers and crew of Her Majesty's frigate Daedalus in 1848. The vessel was 24 degrees 44 south and 9 degrees 20 east in the South Atlantic Ocean, not far from the coast of Africa, when, according to the account forwarded by the captain to the admiral, a huge monster was encountered swimming rapidly. An enormous serpent with head and shoulders kept about 4 feet constantly above the surface of the sea. The diameter of the serpent was about 15 or 16 inches behind the head, which was without any doubt that of a snake. And it was never during the 20 minutes that it continued under the view of our glasses once below the surface of the water. Its color was a dark brown with yellowish white about the throat. It had no fins.
All right, I think we're going to stop there. So in this book is different accounts during the 1800s, early 1900s of, they call it the Great Sea Serpent. God calls it Leviathan. And notice how Leviathan is primarily seen off the seacoast of the United States, Boston, New Orleans, all the areas where the great slave trade occurred, with an enslavement of the Israelites. So Lord's will, you was able to get something out of this class. All praise to the Most High. And unfortunately, like I said, there's a lot of interruption. So we're going to have to do an edit to the class so that you can see the videos that I want to play earlier. All right, Israel? So next week, we're going to go over Darwinism and evolutionary theory. All right? Shalom. Most High in Christ bless.
You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now.